It's Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, and you know what time it is, and you know what that means. It's time for Everything Matters with Ed Munoz and David Zere. And here they are. Here's Ed and Dave.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.
What's up, everyone?
Mr. and Mrs. America.
Welcome, everybody.
I feel like it's like we were waiting for Happy Days to come on when I was 7. We're jumping the shark. We're jumping the shark
I can do that voice. Mr. and Mrs. America and all you people everywhere around the world. You see that? There you go.
That's good. You're the movie tone news guy?
That's it. I'm the movie tone news guy.
America's best fighters.
Well, I want to welcome everybody. I haven't been here in a couple of weeks, and I apologize. And feeling a little bit under the weather the last couple of days. I think it's going around.
I think it's everybody. We have a flu story for you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Flu story.
Yeah.
Well,
I think everyone needs to get their kids vaccinated. I hate to say it.
I didn't get the flu this year.
Like 90% of the kids who died didn't get a flu vaccine this year. So, in the last 10 years, actually.
It is good to be back. I know we have a huge news cycle.
Yeah, remind me later. I want to talk to you about Puerto Rico because the mayor of San Juan's up to no good again, and they found a warehouse filled with supplies for high tension lines and secondary power lines.
This is all. We'll talk about it, but it's all done to embarrass the Trump administration.
I bet it is.
I had this conversation with a woman the other day at the office that I'm working at right now, doing some executive protection. And she was saying that how the Trump administration dropped the ball with Puerto Rico. So I had to enlighten her and educate her on the truth of what's going on in Puerto Rico. But we'll get to that. Let's get to the State of the Union, Dave.
Yeah, I'm still in shock.
Yeah,
from that rebuttal. What was with Kennedy broadcasting to the United States with an audience stacked with Democrats?
Well, not only that,
that was so weird.
He's just showing how out of touch he is, how his great uncles were. I have to tell you, his great grandfather and his great uncle John.
Oh, come
Kennedy,
on!
Would have been
They're rolling in their
days.
graves.
Yes, they'd be Republican. This guy is a rich elitist that's out of touch with reality.
Well, what really got me,
man.
you know, what really bothered me was I went to Ireland, and like in Australia and Ireland, they play the didgeridoo. Right. And when I was on Grafton Street in Dublin, and all the performers were there, which was unbelievable. If you haven't done it, you got to go there because the talent is just unreal. But they play the didgeridoo. But in order to play the didgeridoo properly, you have to gather large amounts of spit in the corners of your mouth. And I think Kennedy had that going on last night. I don't know what's going on.
Drool. He was drooling. Listen, he's 37 years old. The kid has done nothing in his life to warrant anything. Okay? He's been privately educated.
I think he shot himself in the foot.
Oh, he's
I think it was a high school election speech. It was reactionary. It wasn't well thought out, and having that audience there was a big mistake, because that audience in the gallery, and I've been to the gallery several times in the Capitol. It's a pretty amazing place, and it's awe-inspiring.
Listen,
you had both sides represented there, and for Kennedy to get up there and only have Democrats or liberals, clapping for him in front of the whole country, when I think about 50% of the population were throwing shit at the TV. Excuse the French, I'm sorry, but I know this is a G-rated
we won't
show.
Get fined by the FCC.
Yes, but I won't use that language again. We
pride
pride ourselves by not cursing on this show, but I'm a little wound up. So
yeah, well, listen.
Bleep it out next time, Eric.
Bleep what out? Nothing happened. That's it.
7-second delay.
It never happened. Never happened.
We can't hear you back there behind the booth.
It never happened.
Yeah, we like. I can hear you.
It never happened.
What's up, Eric? Say hello to Eric Koppelman, our producer.
Hey guys, how are you?
He's keeping the show alive.
Oh, the boys are back in town together. That's so nice.
Yeah,
it really is.
And I forgot. I got to go down to the car and get my sunglasses with these new lights here. Holy.
Well, you're gonna get a tan. That's why people are gonna think you guys were in the Caribbean or something.
Yes.
Is that a Puerto Rican joke?
A man can dream.
I said Caribbean, not Puerto Rico.
No, that was Puerto Rican.
It's Puerto Rican.
So anyway, I thought that the speech was so great because he could back it up with actions, and all these State of the Unions are just fluff and divisive.
No, facts. He laid out the facts of his policies.
So how was his speech divisive last night? I'm trying to think about it. He wants to lower premiums. He wants to lower health insurance premiums in the private
prescription
market.
drugs.
He wants to lower prescription drugs.
He wants terminal people.
He wants to protect Americans from criminals.
He wants experimental drugs used on terminal patients here, and they don't have to travel to Jamaica or Nicaragua.
Yeah. And the MS-13,
getting rid of gang members.
And the gang member, the head of the task force, is Hispanic, and he was cited. The family of the victims of MS-13 were black. They were recognized. So how is Trump racist again? It doesn't make any sense. Nothing Kennedy said made any sense.
No, no, it made no sense. It's out of touch with reality. It's out of touch with the common American, and we make up, 85% of this country, common American people, hardworking,
Yeah.
middle class people that pay their
They
taxes.
should have, the
raise their
Republicans
kids.
should get a rebuttal to the rebuttal and show the video of Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Coalition praising Donald Trump as not being a racist and
Yeah,
helping
or
minorities
maybe
his
they-
whole life and gave him a medal.
Or maybe the Democrats should look back at 1990 video of Chuck Schumer talking against chain migration.
Yeah, I
You know,
have that story.
It's incredible. We'll get to that if you want to. I really want to go over a quote. My favorite one of the State of the Union last night. This is Donald Trump. My duty and the sacred duty of every elected official in this chamber is to defend Americans, to protect their safety, their families, their communities, and the right to the American dream.
That's
Because
racist.
Americans are dreamers too.
Did you say the American dream? That's racist. Oh, he got criticized by the ACLU for saying the word American 87 times. Did you see that article?
No, I don't.
I mean, so
Anything the ACLU puts
wasn't
out.
I thought it was awe-inspiring. And I thought it was something the Democrats could chew on as well. Because they all said the same thing in the past.
What I liked about him was it wasn't fluid. It wasn't a polished politician.
No.
He's a regular guy, a businessman. Even though he's a billionaire, he's a hardworking man. I do a lot of executive protection for CEOs.
Yes.
Very wealthy men, and they all have one thing in common. Okay, they all work
Limos?
hard. No, the work ethic. The
I'm only
work-
kidding.
No, my Suburban. The work ethic. Okay, they have to be the first one in the office,
There's no doubt.
and they have to be the last one to leave.
Ben Franklin said the early bird gets the worm. It's true.
But these CEOs lead by example.
No,
this
there's no
guy
doubt.
leads by example. He's in that Oval Office.
Whatever level you started off at in life, the Long Island melting pot is a amalgamation of all kinds of people, and anybody who owns a small business that made it,
My
except for a
parents-
handful, bust their
we've talked
butts
we've
24/7.
We've talked about this dozens of times, but I'll say it again for our new listeners. Okay, my family immigrated here from Puerto Rico. Okay, my mother and father were not wealthy. My grandparents were not wealthy. Okay, my parents lived in poverty. My father had the opportunity to use education to get out of the ghetto, and he did.
My family came here with nothing.
I'm one generation removed from the ghetto, and I tell my kids that.
My
okay?
grandparents were in the ghetto.
So-
My great-grandparents were in the ghetto with no
Anything-
public assistance,
No.
and learned the language,
That's it.
and were
Assimilate.
street sweepers, and sewed beads on the dresses for rich people, and they weren't out in the street crying, holding up signs
know-
about how life was unfair.
What made
My generation was the first generation that went to college in my family.
My thing that bothered me the most
I
is,
didn't.
is that African American unemployment is down to the lowest rate in history, and maybe even the likes of the early '90s. But
Same for the Latino
not one
community.
member of the Black Caucus stood up and clapped.
That was
All
that
right.
was hideous.
Not one member of the Hispanic caucus stood up for the lowest.
Like, I don't
Latino.
understand. Even if he stood, it doesn't mean he's endorsing Trump's policies. If he still believes that Obama was responsible for it, wouldn't he stand for that?
Here's it in a
What
nutshell.
am I missing?
Here's it in a nutshell. And this is for everybody out there that's just like us, common regular Americans, middle class people. The bottom line is Democrats, we're not going to clap. We're not going to endorse anything that this man has done because it legitimizes him. It keeps him in power, and it jeopardizes their power in their election because they've signed on to nothing that this president has done. They've done nothing but roadblock and resist. And I'm tired of it, and it's absolute BS. And I don't want to curse.
Yeah.
I don't want to curse, so I'll give the acronym. It's BS.
So-
okay, enough. This country is going in the right direction right now. Unemployment is low. Companies are bringing back billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Trillions. It's going to be about 10 trillion.
This is insane. How anybody cannot gather together as Americans and praise the work that's been done. That's it.
So listen to this.
This was Hillary Clinton. Forget about it.
I
Ticker
always
tape parade, right?
I always cringe at the State of the Union because there's nothing worse than a politician getting up there and spewing a lot of hot air. Even when Reagan did it, even when the Bushes did it, even when Clinton did it, especially Obama, which just was crying about how unfair everything is for everybody. But, you kind of cringe because they throw out these things these promises. It's a wish list. It's infrastructure, all this BS, all these promises. I don't think Trump's State of the Union was like that at all, except for a couple of things. I think it was genuine. I think that anybody who's in business out there in America today, no matter what color you are, is saying,
What race?
wow, there's a
What
rising
religion?
tide.
Right.
There's a rising tide. You know, it's a little easier to get financing. Employers are hiring more people. People are expanding their business. People's 401ks are up 30, 40, 45, 50% in some cases. Our energy production is the best it's ever been in the history of the United States. The coal industry is benefiting. The steel industry is benefiting.
See,
Manufacturing is at the highest level in 20 years.
The problem with the left is that they've gone really, really left, and there are no more of those blue dog Democrats.
But they
those
sound like
sensible-
jackasses.
You know, they're really doing damage to the.
I felt like-
they're trying so desperately to hold on to power. Okay, and again, we go back to the theory of what it is when you look at the top most violent cities in America with the highest violent crimes. Okay, all those cities, and we've gone through it city by city, David. All those cities are run and controlled by Democrats.
No, there's no doubt, and
the
it's true-
Democratic
and it's a true
policies,
story.
the Democratic policies are holding minorities down. They're holding them back. They don't want them to be successful
Do you want
because they never will need them.
Let me give you two pieces of economic news and then something back to the State of the Union. The Dow ended January with a rally. It extended its winning streak, right? Its best winning streak. Listen to this. Since 1959, the Dow is up at a higher rate than any decade since
Yeah, now that-
1959.
now they're giving this success.
60 years.
Yeah, they're giving the success to Obama.
60 years, right? So, and the NASDAQ has 7 straight monthly gains. You know, I dumped the NASDAQ in 2000. It was 2,000. It's like 7,000 now. It's unbelievable. You make 3 times your money.
Yeah, the media
in
say
10
the media
to 20
saying
years.
it's all Obama's doing.
So the other good news today is that private payrolls grew at 234,000 in January versus 185,000 expected, right?
The
We'll
numbers
get
are
into
staggering.
that a little later.
The numbers are
but-
staggering. It's unbelievable.
So the one thing that I wanted to say about the State of the Union also is that Obama said the word "I" 146 times in his last State of the Union. I think Trump only used the word "I" about 30 times, and you know, it's
they
just
call
a
him a
different.
narcissist. The
Yeah, they're
media's
calling
him a
Trump the
narcissist.
narcissist. So I don't know. It's unbelievable.
Listen, the guy's a businessman. The guy works hard. He built an empire, okay? And the bottom line is you got to give him credit. Do I think he tweets too much? Do I think, yeah, you know what?
You know what? Every
Listen,
tweet he sends out is true.
I know.
He started
I
his
know.
election winning off with
was-
saying he was wiretapped, and everyone said, "Oh, don't tweet
I've
anymore,"
said
and
it
it's
from-
true.
I said it from the beginning when there were 17 men and women running for the Republican nomination. He wasn't my first choice, okay? But he's my president, and I back him, and I back him all the way.
He's my
And
first
he's doing
choice now. I'll tell you that.
There's no doubt about it.
Because he's doing amazing things, and you know, from immigration to protecting Americans to improving this economy, to just the whole
about-
deal.
how about-
Just
how
the
about
whole
crushing
deal.
ISIS?
Standing up for
about
some
crushing
type of
ISIS?
decency. You know, so I have an article here.
Changing the rules of engagement in Afghanistan.
Listen, he gave the reins back to our U.S. military. The military defeat of ISIS, this is an article today, can be measured in weeks. Top U.S. general says, you know, he's giving the terror group in Syria and Iraq, you know, a couple of weeks, and they'll be wiped out. So ISIS is still a threat. They've scattered. They're in 27 countries. We have bigger concern here. There's an article out today in the Clarion Project, and we have Ryan Morrow on our show from the Clarion Project, that there's new training camps in the United States that are jihad training camps. And we'll get to that article later, too. So
Yeah, I'd like
there's
to
a
see-
lot going on in the news
I'd like
here.
to see the Sessions DOJ.
That are jihad.
I'd like to see them get a little tougher with you know, situations like that when you have training camps. You know, I really I want to see the.
Well, under Obama, you weren't allowed to touch it.
Right. Well, you weren't allowed
even
to
under
call it
Bush.
Islamic training camps.
No, you weren't. And there's been several camps that have been raided since 1992, actually, in the United States, even before the first World Trade Center bombing. So they've been here long before. But, you know, like Ryan Morrow went up to Islamberg, and we had him on our show here. And basically, he wasn't allowed to publish his story. But today, the FBI is confirming, I think it was yesterday, that there are ISIS and Islamic terror training camps inside the United States, and they're active. So we better wake up, people. You know,
This is something that it has to be met with and dealt with fiercely and quickly.
did you see this security gaffe There was this student in Australia. He was using Strava's global heat map, and he exposed military bases all over the world. It was an app using a smartphone GPS, and it's meant to track where you are and when you're exercising. It creates like a global social network like Fitbit. It can be used with Fitbits, actually. The map covers 17 billion miles of routes in the world.
A bunch of people losing their jobs today.
Yeah. So soldiers use the apps too. And there were secret bases exposed around the world. In combat zones in Afghanistan, where soldiers were jogging. It exposed soldiers where they were jogging.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Are we up on a hard break there, Mr. Koppelman? Because I'd like to get into the story about the FBI and the corruption, or are we gonna wait for that to the end?
Absolutely. I was just waiting for you to finish your train of thought there, guys, because you were on a roll. But if you
Well,
want,
listen, I'll on a roll. I'll break everything in this place right
Yeah,
now.
why don't we take a break? We'll get our thoughts organized here. And everybody, you're listening to Everything Matters with Ed Munoz and David Zere live at JVK Studios.
Good to be back.
We're about 50 miles outside of Manhattan. We're broadcasting around the world. Stay with us. We got important stuff.
Since 1980, Zere Real Estate Services, trustworthy full-service commercial real estate company, have been servicing commercial real estate requirements throughout the Long Island commercial real estate region for more than 3 decades. Office leasing, industrial commercial real estate services, like I said, whatever you need when it comes to commercial properties or commercial real estate, it's Zere Real Estate Services. Give them a call, 631-467-4300. That's 631-467-4300, or check them out online at www.zere, that's ZERE.com. Maybe it's finding a better way to manage your business so you can pursue your passion or have the resources to spend time with those closest to you. Well, Bridgehampton National Bank can make it happen. A Long Island commercial bank, they offer smart solutions, sound advice, and personal service to help businesses and individuals succeed, and they welcome the opportunity to do the same for you. Check them out online at www.bnbbank.com. Bridgehampton National Bank, what does success mean to you? And now back to Everything Matters with Ed Munoz and David Zere.
Thank you, Mr. Koppelman. And how are you, by the way? I haven't seen you in a few weeks.
I'm wonderful. I'm
Yeah?
good.
How's the family?
Well, Martin had type A flu.
Whoa.
Yeah, he did. He had the flu. And you know,
Would he beat it in about 6 hours?
you know, what's that?
Would he beat it? He beat that in about 6 hours?
No, actually, it was down for almost a week. Let me tell you what, real quick,
that's-
real quick. We took him to a doctor's office, and they
Right.
refused to give him the test. They said it didn't look like the flu. I said, "What does the flu look like?" She didn't like that, right? Well, I was told by the.
Don't be racist with the flu, you know.
Here's the thing: I was told by the office that some of the doctors are not as thorough. And then I did some investigation. I found out the nasal swabs. The reason they don't do a lot of testing with the nasal swabs is because for 20 pack, it's $500. 2 days later, after 104 temperature with Martin, I take him to another doctor. They do the flu test, and they find out he has the type A flu. So basically, the one pediatrician's office could have put my entire family and everybody that Martin came into contact with as far as spreading the virus. This is what the problem is.
And he's a tough kid. That's a tough kid. Going down for a week like that.
You know what? Can you imagine Eddie? Like your son,
Yeah.
can you imagine seeing Eddie lying on his back, not playing lacrosse or not doing sports?
Well, we've done that. He had the flu back in December. You know, he didn't want the shot.
You know what
I
I'm
got the
saying?
shot, but I got a damn cold that's lasted about 3 weeks.
Everybody's sick.
Let's get back to the cycle.
Yeah,
and,
this State of the Union, right?
Yeah.
So the ACLU said that the use of the word American 80 times in the State of the Union was 1950s. They were terms of a bygone era. That they used the words church, family, police, military, the national anthem, and Trump trying to call on the tropes of 1950s era nationalism. The goal of this speech appears to force the normalization of Trump on the terms of a bygone era, supporting his nostalgic supporters. These people are sick in the head. I'm just convinced they're demented.
It just to me, it's and what's even more demented is the fact that we had our top law enforcement agency, the heads of it, working in collusion with Hillary Clinton, the DNC, to rig this election and not have Donald Trump and still continue to try to have the special investigator to dig up stuff on Russian collusion.
Well, Andy McCabe,
What?
he was forced to leave. And, we've been screaming about him for a year.
Listen, he's gonna be in bracelets.
Dan
gonna be in
Bongino,
handcuffs.
who's a former Secret Service
Love the
agent
guy.
for Obama, has come out and said that Andrew McCabe is going to go down, that he's critical to 2 investigations. Not only Hillary Clinton, but the Trump
It's
dossier.
ridiculous. And Stroke and his lover and all that nonsense.
How did Hillary Clinton skate and Mike Flynn get prosecuted? What am I missing here?
No, this is.
This
I
is
tell you,
crazy.
this is like a banana republic. This is
Yeah.
to me. Heads have to roll. People have to go to jail. This has to be. You can't be tolerated.
So one
it
of the
cannot be
one
tolerated.
of the Peter Strzok and Lisa Page text messages, that a lot of them are being recovered now because they have to release, and the FBI fighting it tooth and nail, right?
So are the Democrats.
Peter Strzok and Lisa Page leaked confidential information regarding the FBI, regarding Trump, to the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post. I mean, this is crazy. This stuff is coming out on a daily basis. Why aren't there indictments right away?
That's what I'm saying. I think Sessions has to get a lot tougher with this stuff.
You know,
this cannot.
They let Hillary skate before 17 witnesses were interviewed. They wrote the exoneration letter for Hillary 4 months before the investigation ended.
She calls herself a feminist and doesn't fire a staff worker who is sexually harassing, confirmed by her campaign manager, sexually harassing.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking
And
about.
Anthony Weiner.
Anthony Weiner. She's been so used to sexual predators in her life that she's associated with that it's really not.
It gets worse than that. Michael Horowitz, who's the Inspector General, has been asking witnesses why the FBI leadership seems to be unwilling to go forward with the examination of emails found on the laptop of convicted pedophile, basically, Congressman Anthony Weiner, whose wife is Huma Abedin, Hillary's right-hand girl, right?
Ties to Hamas?
Confidential emails are on Anthony Weiner's laptop while he's talking to 15-year-old girls and asking them to have sex.
David, isn't Abedin, her family associated with Hamas?
Well, her brother, and there's ties to the Muslim Brotherhood.
Muslim
and it's
Brotherhood,
one of the
that's right.
reasons why Morsi got into power in Egypt, because Obama let it happen. And that backfired on the U.S. And it was part of the Arab Spring, which was in the brewing, and the al-Qaeda people tried to coordinate that for many years. But Morsi never would have taken power. And if it wasn't for al-Sisi coming back into power, you would have Coptic Christians dead in the street all over Egypt. And because Morsi took power, because of Huma Abedin, because of Hillary Clinton, those al-Qaeda cells split in half and went into Libya and killed Muammar Gaddafi, who was cooperating with the United States, and hence caused the refugee crisis in Europe because they came from Libya. They started coming from Libya. That wouldn't have happened. And Europe was already under siege, but it would not be under siege like it is today. By the way, 50 ISIS members have bled into the countryside in Italy, and Interpol is looking for them. 50 ISIS fighters right off the battlefield in Syria and Iraq
Again, David,
are in Italy.
listen, that's the real news, and I have no sympathy.
It's real news.
For the Euro.
You're not going to get it
the
on
Eurostate.
CBS.
I have no sympathy for the Eurostate. You could tell me that there's 100,000 ISIS fighters that are in Italy, and you know what? It's not my concern because this is what they wanted. This is what they wanted. They wanted multiculturalism. They wanted multiple cultures living as one, and everybody's going to sing Kumbaya and get along.
So
It
Tim
just doesn't
Henschel,
happen.
our guest, tried to call in here. Eric, can you call Tim on his mobile?
Folks that are
The
listening.
number I gave him says it's disconnected, so maybe we missed a digit.
I need his number. I'll need his number.
I'm going to give it to you in like 10 seconds.
Okay.
So, Ed, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go on.
No problem. I was just talking about to the audience about multiculturalism, how it doesn't work. The only way you can have multiple cultures together is everybody assimilates to the host nation. If the host nation, happens to be the United States of America, well, then you know what? You have to conform to our laws, our rules, in our society. You can't come here and if you practice Sharia law, expect to adhere to Sharia law, and if something goes wrong in the Muslim community, that there's a Sharia court. So it doesn't work that way, folks. Okay? And the Europeans have tried to take this square peg and jam it into a round hole, right, for the last 30 years. And now it's come back. and you look at the crime rates in Sweden, you look at the crime rates in
There's
Germany.
a study that 1 in 8 women in Sweden are going to be
It's
raped.
ridiculous. So you
1
know
in
what,
8 women.
folks, here it is in a nutshell. Multiculturalism does not work. Assimilation works.
We have to fix it.
Period. End of story.
So I think we have Tim Henschel on the line. Tim, you with us?
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed a digit when I emailed you the phone number before. So we're on the phone with Tim Henschel. He is the CEO of HotelPlanner.com. You currently reside in London, right, Tim?
I do, yes.
And we've had you on the show before. And Tim has been helping military families, giving them free trips, for their duty and service to this country.
Tim, how are you? Ed Munoz.
Ed Munoz is with me here. Say hello.
Yes, hello. How's it going?
Good, good, good.
So the State of the Union last night, and this ties in with what you do for a living. Hotel Planner is a discount hotel reservation service, correct? Can you tell us a little about Hotel Planner?
Yeah, we really specialize in small, medium, and large events. So, anything from just a weekend getaway with friends, like a bachelor or bachelorette party, to events as big as the Super Bowl or Electric Daisy Carnival or Comic-Con.
Yes.
So, yeah, we've actually been tracking some interesting information around this upcoming Super Bowl.
So Donald Trump, he scorched the NFL yesterday in his first State of the Union. And basically he was, stating how foolish it was that these people aren't standing for the national anthem. And we've been tracking all year and watching Sean Hannity's statistics every day about empty football stadiums around the country.
Just even the ratings on TV are down. 15,
Ratings are
20%.
down. They're saying 10. I think it's probably more like 30. So
Absolutely.
so what's happening with the reservations in the Minneapolis area for the Super Bowl? What do you see?
Yeah, they definitely haven't picked up with the velocity that we were tracking for the Houston Super Bowl last year. So there's a bunch of differences between the market. Houston's got 80,000 rooms, and Minneapolis only has 40,000. So with, half the amount of rooms, you would expect that we'd be in a sellout position already, because the NFL blocks 19,000 of those rooms up front. And you look back, they were predicting a sellout months ago, but I even noticed we're gaining more rooms. So last week we had 55 hotels available. As of today, we have 80 hotels available, and the rates are dropping. So a lot of those hotels 10 miles from the stadium were selling around $600, $700 a night, but now they're running discounts since we're only 3 days out.
Not only is there about 30% difference in the hotel availability, but there's also rates are lower.
Yeah, rates are going to drop because I think the NFL is releasing some of their block, because I've seen 4-star hotels now all of a sudden come up for availability. I think you also have 2 Northeast teams playing in the West. That's tough.
Sure.
It's in an area that has less of a population.
You know what I
half
think?
of the population that Texas had. And then you've got, the factor where the weather is the coldest Super Bowl in history. So there's just so many factors that are pushing these.
You know what I
rates
think the
down.
number one factor is? People are sick
What?
and tired of this. These athletes taking a knee for our national anthem. People are tired of it. The ratings all year have been down 20, 30%. They say 10. I agree with David. It's got to be up more to 20, 30%. And you know what? People are just sick of it. They work Monday through Friday. They bust their butt, and on Sundays they want to kick back, eat some chicken wings, drink a beer, watch football. They don't need politics injected. And if these athletes really care about their cause, which is really, it was started by Kaepernick, which is anti-police. Okay, he was suggesting that police officers drive around in their tours of duty and shoot minorities and young African Americans for no reason. So that was the real basis of this taking a knee. Okay, and law enforcement across this country, men and women, put on that uniform. God bless them. And you know what? There's 1 million uniform officers active today. There are over 5 million retired that are still alive. Okay, and they have brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles. So this is morphing into something where the NFL should really pay attention, because we're not going to stand for this anymore. And I'm retired law enforcement.
Well, so Tim, what do you see? What do you think is going to happen by the time the Super Bowl happens? Do you think that there will be absorption of those rooms, just maybe that there isn't as high of a demand?
Yeah, I think you're going to see even bigger discounts, and so there's some really good deals out there. I definitely understand the perspective that you're coming from on the conflict that's there. Coming from the travel side, I look at it more like, these issues have all come together to kind of create a perfect discount for people that always wanted to go to the Super Bowl over the weekend, the Super Bowl city over the weekend, and may even not have a ticket, but there's, that's 9 out of the 10 people that go to the Super Bowl are people without a ticket that go for the festival and the concerts and the events around it.
I think
you can get some really good deals. We've got a hotel that's only $70 a night right now.
Wow.
And I've never seen that in the 5 years we've been tracking Super Bowl rooms.
Wow. I think the difference is also a little bit along the lines what Ed Munoz said over here, because, the World Series, you want at West Coast, East Coast, for the ratings, you want it for the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl has always been like the pinnacle of all sports events. And I never even remember talk about this. I mean, outside of like a couple of Jet games that aren't sold out because they're so bad, I've never had this conversation with anybody. So I think that the NFL and Goodell, I think they made a very big mistake this year. Hopefully they'll get their act together. Now they're talking about another football league, right?
Yeah,
with Vince McMahon. So I don't know if that'll get any traction. It probably won't. But I just think it's disgraceful what the NFL did this year. So, Tim, what do you got in the works? What do you got for the first quarter of 2018? I would recommend everybody go on your website, download the app on your phone for Hotel Planner. It's a great service. I use it through our mutual friend, Adam, and I've been on the site. It's great. So anyone out there planning a trip, anyone owns a company, anyone wants to plan an event, right? Get on there. What do you got plans in 2018 for?
So we are going to be releasing some versions of our voice recognition through Alexa and Google Home. So we're pushing further towards artificial intelligence. We're looking at a year where we'll do close to 1 million group requests through, which is 10% of the global market. 9 million groups will plan an event throughout the year globally. So we're really seeing some huge numbers. We're up to close to 1 million from doing 650,000 groups just last year. And the more groups we get, because we help groups that pre-block rooms at a discount, but say they don't pick up all their blocks, we will put those discounted rooms back out through the platforms for individuals to book. So individuals can find special deals to book within those group blocks. That's why, right on Hotel Plan it says special group rate discounts. So the more groups we get, the more discounts there are. And so it's really kind of beginning to really build on itself. And we're just having a huge year. It's great.
I'm glad to hear that. I really am.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And let me ask you a question. You're a business owner. How is this tax plan going to affect you?
I think it's doing great things because, we're seeing all of these extra companies giving bonuses, and that those people are using some of that money to travel. We can see it in the numbers. Reservations are up 5% year over year right now. That's up from a 3% growth from last year. That kind of growth has to be spurred by a big economic boom. I think that's from lower taxes, more money getting into people's pockets. I also think it's a big stock market boom. Has allowed the baby boomers to take some of those retirement savings out and start spending it for travel. And we all know millennials love, to spend money on travel and then share their experiences on social media. So all of this demand is going out there in the industry right now, and it's going to be a great time for travel.
Yeah, I'm going to tell my kids travel. I'm going to tell them to download your app. I didn't do it last time. I'm going to do it right now as soon as the show's over. So, Ed, I think we're gonna say goodbye to Tim for now.
Tim, it's great having you on.
We really appreciate your insight, and for all the listeners, Tim Henschel, CEO of HotelPlanner.com. Check it out, use it. He's doing great things, and you got to use it just because he is a philanthropist. He's giving back to the community. He helps our veterans.
Military.
So forget hotels.com, all this other stuff. go on hotelplanner.com and use it because he's a good guy. All right, Tim?
Tim, thanks again.
All right.
God bless.
Thank you so much for having me. Have
Anytime.
A great day.
You too.
Talk to you later.
Yeah, listen, I just want to get one thing off my chest with these NFL guys taking a knee. I'm all for freedom of speech, but when you're talking about private business, that the NFL is privately owned, okay, just do me a favor. Nobody wants to get political, okay? If they want to demonstrate, they should go to the steps of their city halls, okay? Because these politicians are the ones that set the policy that allows for unemployment, high unemployment, that allows for the high crime rates. They do nothing to improve those cities. Half of them steal the money of the taxpayers. Most of the taxpayers leave. So
Yeah.
if they want to demonstrate, it shouldn't be against the police. The police go by the radio. They go by 911.
I have a story for you. In Cleveland the other day, right? A guy was pulling out of his driveway. He was shot 16 times. The EMS service didn't want to cross the county line into the city. And they would not take the man who was shot 16 times, who was still able to drive a quarter mile in his car, and stopped, begging for help. They left him on the ground. It was the Cleveland police who picked him up and threw him in the squad car and took him to the hospital. I think the guy's alive.
Listen, I have to tell you, this is really to me just the policies of what's going on in these cities are destroying the minority communities. And I'm a minority, and I could say it. They're being destroyed.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
And there's no personal responsibility. The family is broken up. The crime, the drugs, everything.
So
and
you
they
have
don't
a
care.
story in Detroit, right?
Oh,
so what's going on in Detroit with the
Well,
police right now?
We're going to try to have the president of their PBA on next week. I put an email out to him today. I didn't hear back from him. But right now, Detroit, Eric, you'll love this one. Detroit Police Department, the city of Detroit is no longer going to pay for the funerals of fallen police officers in the line of duty.
It's ridiculous. They
They
probably
don't-
pay
they're
billions
not
a
gonna
year
pay
out
for the
in
police officers
public
that was
assistance.
killed
That's fraudulent.
in the line of duty.
They probably pay hundreds of millions of dollars just from the city
It's
in
a
fraudulent
disgrace.
benefits.
Half these police cars in Detroit don't even have computers.
Yeah.
They don't have the money. These guys are running around for $40,000 a year, saving lives, right? Saving black lives, minority lives, Spanish lives, and they're running around doing this.
You can't
and,
write
and,
this
and
stuff.
if they lose their life in the line of duty, protecting and saving the people of Detroit, the city government will not even pay for their funeral. That's a shame.
It's
a shame.
An outrage. Speaking of liberal cities, San Francisco has a human poop map. So go online.
It's the whole city.
And download the human poop map, and it
Yeah.
tells you where to stay away from human waste. My daughter was out there in a convention. I talk about it on the show. A guy was going to the defecating right in front of the convention center, and no police were there. Nothing.
Yeah. Who wrote that article?
Well, I don't know where originally from. I got this from Mashable, but I saw it on another website. And I
Yeah,
couldn't
you know
print
what?
it out.
Here's my advice: stay away from San Francisco totally. That's
Well,
it.
so these people at Mashable are maintaining, whoever wrote this article, that the answer is to build more bathrooms. And I don't think that's the answer. I think it's to give,
Can you
get
imagine?
rid of the
can you-
liberal
can you
politicians in San
Can
Francisco.
you imagine being a spouse of? I'm just thinking about it now. Can you imagine being a spouse, all right, and getting that call or the knock at the door that your husband or wife was killed in a line of duty, making $45,000 a year, don't have the resources to do a proper job. Half the city, some of the parts of the city are in blackout because they don't have the money to fix the infrastructure.
And there's, 20,000 vacant buildings in Detroit?
Oh, it's 120,000.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. And then to learn that your spouse was killed in the line of duty, you have to
And you
shoulder
have-
that.
you have to
now-
pay for the
And now you
funeral.
have to pay for the funeral.
I can't.
It's absurd.
So I think you and I need to work on that.
That's-
and maybe we'll write a letter to Trump or
Yes.
to somebody, and maybe we'll bring that to Steve Loomis and get a petition drive or something, because that's horrific.
It's horrific.
It's probably the worst story of the night. But listen, on a better note, okay, we've got first year of Trump's administration, compensations rose for the average American in the private sector, and salaries rose from a year earlier by 2.8%. It's the best gain of the expansion, which has been going on for a couple of years, but now it's in high gear. Industry groups registered increases of 3% higher, led by transportation and material moving at 3.5%, and service occupations at 3.3%. So there's some good things. Oh, did you see this? So CBS did a news poll last night, which backfired on them. 75% of the people who were surveyed approved of the speech of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And 65% of Americans were proud of their country, and 35% felt safer. So, that was a good story.
Listen, we never got to talk. I mean, you and I in person.
Yeah.
But I did some work, security work, for the Women's March in New York City a couple of weekends ago, and I have to tell you, those people live on a different planet. It's unbelievable.
The ignorance, the gross
the
ignorance.
hypocrisy and the ignorance.
Yeah.
And it was totally an anti-Trump rally, and I have to tell you, our New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman should be locked up because he was saying things.
It's treasonous what he said.
He was saying things that were making me boil. The guy I was working with kept grabbing me, saying, "Eddie, stop! Don't say anything. Eddie, stop! Don't say anything. Eddie, stop! Don't say anything." Because I was.
What was
so
amazing
livid.
is that, and I said this last week, there were people walking down the street with $100,000 in camera equipment marching, and they were morons. It was like George Soros said, come here and put a $100,000 video system and put it on them like an Alice pack, like they were in the Marines, and they're carrying down these sophisticated camera equipment, and they were the most vile, reprehensible, profanity-laden
I
jerkwads you ever met in your
more
life.
P words, V words written on posters.
Yeah.
People dressing in V costumes.
One guy who had the camera system on was spitting on everybody. That was his claim to fame.
Listen, anybody that lives in New York, okay, your Attorney General Eric Schneiderman is a jerk.
He is
He's
a
an
jerk.
absolute jerk.
I want to say, Trump said America 82 times. We're going to say jerk on the show 82 times.
Jerk. Eric Schneiderman's a jerk.
So listen to
Every
this.
compliment. Eric Schneiderman's a jerk.
So,
our Attorney General.
we got-
Wait, I just want to tell you why he's a jerk.
Come on.
He's inciting this crowd of about 100,000 losers, okay, saying that the days of the African-American woman who make 63 cents to a white man's dollar. So in other words, a white man makes $1 and an African-American woman makes 63 cents.
Yeah.
They said in the days of a Latina woman, making 54 cents on a white man's dollar or
So
over.
ridiculous.
The white man can no longer be in power is what he said.
Yeah,
See, it's this guy.
that's what he's saying. And he's
90% of the march were white women and white men.
And he's the top law enforcement official in the state of New York.
He should be arrested for treason.
It's
Enough
unbelievable.
said. I'm done
So,
with Eric Schneiderman.
but
That jerk.
We did have a Pulitzer Prize level story from CNN. They said that Melania Trump was wearing white last night because she was protesting her husband. So I just want to let you know that CNN brings you the hard news and the news that people want to know.
If she was wearing purple, it would have been the same thing. It doesn't
Yes.
matter.
They also reported that she came by herself because she didn't want anything from the burger.
I'm old, but
She didn't want anything from the Burger King drive-thru. Was a story that came out
Yeah,
too.
it's a good story.
it's unreal.
Very important stuff.
You know what it is, though? It's these billionaires that want to control their agenda. The Ted Turners of the world, the Michael
No.
Bloombergs. They push their agenda. They feed on capitalism.
Yeah.
They become rich off capitalism. They become rich off of us. Now they get their point across. They own the New York Times. They buy radio stations and they buy TV networks.
But not WLINY.com.
Nobody
JVK
will ever
Media.
come in here and
No.
pay you, right, Eric?
We will not let them through the door.
If Soros came in here right
We have it
now
barricaded.
with $100 million,
Wait a minute. How much?
$100 million. But he only wanted, he wanted us to.
I'm sorry, but you know what? If somebody came through the door with $100 million,
All right. Well, listen. If Bill
Not me.
Clinton came in here with Soros,
Yeah.
and said, "Listen,
oh wait, we're on the air? Absolutely not.
I like this guy
I would
and the
leave.
Munoz guy, the Zere guy, and the Munoz guy. I want them locked up. They're going to be
Listen,
our slaves
let
on
me tell you,
Pleasure
Ed,
Island.
Listen, who you
Would
kidding?
you sell
If
us out for $100
if
million?
if a guy walked in here with $100 million right now, you guys you'd be willing to work for him.
I've made there's no way. Listen, let me tell you a story.
wouldn't sell you out for $100 million.
I've met multiple past presidents. I've met many past vice presidents who are living and dead, and I've had opportunities to have dinner with Bill Clinton. I've had opportunities to have dinner with Hillary Clinton in private settings with a couple of people. Never going to happen.
Right? Yeah.
Never going to happen.
No, I know what
It's
you're
just-
saying. No,
it's just-
I agree. We
it's
have moral, there's
unbelievable.
ethics and morals involved, and it's
know
like
what?
you know what, even it sometimes it's not. I mean, yeah.
You could give me $10 million, I wouldn't
Listen,
do it.
I'm going to need, after my words tonight,
Yeah.
for our lovely Attorney General, I might need you to start my car. 'Cause he works that quick.
Yes, and they have an office down the
Does,
street,
does he have $100 million? No.
right down 347. So, listen, Gutierrez, Representative
Another
Gutierrez. Yeah.
Another jerk.
He gets up, and when everybody's screaming USA, USA in the State of the Union, this guy gets up and leaves. You know? These people are unbelievable. So then, as Trump
He's an
is trying to
embarrassment
honor the
Hispanic- He's an
families,
embarrassment to Hispanics.
Trump's trying to honor the families of these victims of MS-13, right? These 4 African Americans sitting in the audience, flown into D.C. from Brentwood. They're like, it was hard enough to get them there. The father's hysterical crying while Trump's speaking, and the Democrats are booing. The Democrats are booing and groaning in that chamber, in the House,
How many
in
times
the
do we have to say
Capitol.
jerk?
We
We have to go back. I want to see how many times I say jerk, jerk, jerk.
You're up to 71.
Oh, my God.
So, all right, we did that story. So there's
Let's tackle this FBI probe.
But
Let's
right
talk
before
about
we
the
do that,
memo.
we got one more State of the Union story, right? And after the FBI probe, we want to talk about that idiot teacher in California who was
Oh,
bashing the military.
Salcedo, I can't wait to get his
So
name out there.
listen to this. Clinton gets a standing ovation in 1995 State of the Union for slamming illegal immigration. He says, Americans not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. They hold jobs that might otherwise be held by citizens or illegal immigrants, or legal immigrants.
Who does he sound like?
The public services they use impose burdens on taxpayers.
Who does he sound like?
So,
He sounds like a Republican.
but in the 96 election, Bill Clinton wanted to legalize 750,000 illegal aliens. 110,000 of them were on the FBI list and were criminals. And the FBI and DOJ and Immigration and Naturalization Service chairman, this woman, protested the president. He did it anyway because 100,000 of them were rapers and murderers and convicted of grand larceny, in prison, out of prison, here illegally, and he wanted to make them citizens, and that's what started the Lewinsky investigation. If he never did that, Bill Clinton, it never would have came out with a special counsel about the Lewinsky cover-up, where he was convicted of abuse of power, perjury, suborning perjury, which is getting other people to lie,
what
and
difference-
obstruction of justice.
But what difference does it make?
Right.
As his wife would say, what difference? Because he was
Yeah.
impeached, but he was still in office. The guy's still relevant. He's making speeches, getting
Yeah,
$500,000
I like
a year.
when she was using bleach bit
I-
on her hard drive, and she's like, "What do you mean wiped it clean? With a cloth?"
But it's
so
and let me tell you
dishonest.
something, and nothing gets me more riled up than any Clinton story, because these are people that are murderers, they're liars, they have cheated the system,
Right.
they've killed Haiti. They raised $12 billion and they kept $12 billion missing from Haiti from the
Yeah.
earthquake. But yet Trump says the S-hole, whatever.
Well, Trump used his own money to do 200
Yes.
cataract surgeries for Haitians, which Rand Paul was on TV defending Trump
so
about last week.
hypocritical. I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it. I'm done.
So listen to this. Obama, in 2013 State of the Union address, he said real reforms mean stronger border security, and we could build on the progress my administration has already made, putting more boots on the southern border and illegal and reducing illegal crossings to the lowest level in 40 years. Now, if Trump said that same thing, everybody would be, just like Joe Kennedy did last night, racist, misogynistic, hate-filled, right-wing, bigot, Nazi. And so so listen to this.
Because they have no alternative.
1994.
They have to insult.
1994, Dianne Feinstein, right? She's a senator, right?
Jerk.
She's always been.
She's a jerk.
She led the fight to stop illegal immigration. I've just
Chuck
begun to
Schumer?
fight for California, she said. Chuck Schumer in the 2000
Jerk. of all
Georgetown
jerks.
law
He's the
speech.
king of jerks, Chuck Schumer.
He
Gentlemen,
said,
gentlemen, I don't mean to interrupt, but we have Phil Haney on the phone.
"Oh my God!
Yep.
Oh wow!" Phil
Here he
Haney.
goes. Phil, you're live on the air with Dave and Ed. Go ahead.
Phil,
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hey,
excellent,
Phil,
excellent.
how's everything going?
So for our audience out there,
right.
Phil is the author of See Something, Say Nothing. He's a founding member of the Department of Homeland Security after 9/11. He was booted by the Obama administration or given early retirement because of his keen eye and his incredible law enforcement skills that exposed Tablighi Jamaat, and he was on to the the groups that were responsible for the San Bernardino attacks and other terrorist attacks across the country. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I have to tell you, I've been watching the news very carefully because it really is deja vu all over again.
You think? What about this report with
Yeah.
the FBI today that there's Islamic training camps that are active in the United States? Have you seen that?
Jawad al-Fukra, we've known about those guys for 10 years easy, maybe longer.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there hesitation to close these camps down or infiltrate them with undercovers and just make the arrest and close these down already? I mean, I think that the PC era of the last administration has to be downscaled by this time. No.
Well, it is. It's has to start from the inside and work its way out in the same way that it got torn apart. In order for it to be rebuilt, it has to start from the inside and work its way out. It's going to take some time, but I'm very encouraged by what I've seen in several of the different agencies, including mine, meaning the one I retired from, Customs and Border Protection.
Well, that's important. We did some stories on the show in the last several weeks about, audits that were done by Homeland Security of TSA and other groups, and they exposed a lot of loopholes. It sounds like they're trying to identify some of the real problems. Can you speak to that?
Well, they are. Before Secretary Kelly became Chief of Staff Kelly, he issued two very significant memos. They were both dated the 20th of February last year, and they basically were bringing existing immigration law into alignment. In other words, he gave authorization for Customs and Border Protection, CBP, ICE, and Border Patrol to start doing their jobs again. And that's why you might recall last night on the State of the Union that President Trump said we have deported thousands and thousands and thousands of illegal people from our country. And he was specifically talking about ICE, but it goes across the board. So, yeah, there's reason for hope. It's just beginning. I like to say it's kind of like the car was stuck in the ditch, and we've got enough traction to get it out of the ditch and up on the road now. But the next question will be is if we can get enough momentum going forward to help make America great again. Because you know what? Even if we build a wall but we don't enforce our immigration law,
Right.
then the wall's not going to help us anywhere near as much as we might hope.
Let me ask you a question, and you're the expert on this, so I'd be curious for your answer. With the decimation of ISIS in the Middle East, do you see them scattering and maybe trying to get into the United States before immigration reform? Do you see that maybe trying to get through the southern border? What is ISIS going to do now? I mean, they're not going to go away. We know that. It's a fight to the death.
Well,
and I'm just curious now with the actual territory that they've lost, where do they go? Do they infiltrate more in Europe? Do they come here?
The subcontinent, India, subcontinent, and Africa, and Europe.
I would like to give the audience a homework assignment.
Sure.
And that is to listen for the first time that you hear this group called AQIS, Al-Qaeda of the Indian Subcontinent, AQIS. I want you to listen for the first time that you hear it in the media, whatever form of media. Go ahead and look it up so that you will see that what I'm talking about is actually
I've been
true.
doing stories on it, Phil, since you guys and several people in national security have, piqued our interest, and you've been saying that that's a rising threat for some time.
Yes. They wrote a thing called the Code of Conduct, which you can look up on the web. It's written in English. Why do you suppose they would have published it in English?
To recruit.
Well, yeah, but
And to scare
because
us.
that is the last bastion in the world, but it's also to tell us
To scare
what
us.
they intend to do. They have to tell us, according to Sharia law. Osama bin Laden did the same thing in 1998. He wrote a fatwa declaring global jihad. In fact, the original Al-Qaeda's name is not Al-Qaeda. It's the Global Jihad Front.
Yes.
But this group called AQIS is made up of the remnants of the first Al-Qaeda, with Osama bin Laden and 5 others, plus 12 affiliated groups.
Yes.
And the second Al-Qaeda, which we know commonly as ISIS. And now it has coalesced into a third version, which is centered in the Indian subcontinent and specifically includes Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. There are more active Salafi jihadi groups operating in those 5 countries than in all the rest of the world combined.
Do we have special?
And guess where the group you mentioned, Tablighi Jamaat?
Yeah.
Guess where they come from? Same place.
Now, do we have intel? We have intel on the ground. We have boots on the ground, special ops in the ground, monitoring all this, or are we going looking at countries like Myanmar and Bangladesh? Are we blind?
Well, there's the question, isn't it? Last time I heard Tillerson, Secretary of State Tillerson, talk about our policy in Afghanistan, he said that their goal was to bring the Taliban to the negotiating table.
Ew.
I sure do hope that he realizes that the Taliban has now affiliated themselves with ISIS, as it was, and every other Salafi Sunni jihad group operating in an area that probably comprises, what would you say, a quarter to a third of the entire population of the world?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And you were saying that Tablighi Jamaat had as many as 75 million followers as of many years ago alone.
Mm-hmm.
So listen,
Yep.
Phil, we don't have a lot of time. Could we have you back on in a couple of weeks and we could spend some real time on this? Because I know you're very busy and you're very active, but there is nobody that is as well informed
Informative.
as you.
Oh my God, you are a plethora of knowledge. You're the encyclopedia of the Middle East, and that's what I tell Dave off the air. So, but
Well, I'd be glad to, friends. Let's arrange it, and we'll go through it step by step.
Yes.
And provide some information that people can look up. Now's not the time to be afraid. Now's the time to address it.
I agree. Phil,
Well, it's
Phil
a good
Haney.
point. So, Phil, everybody in our audience, this is Phil Haney. He's a founding member of Homeland Security. He's a frequent guest on the show.
Thank you for your service.
Go
by the way.
online, download, see something, say nothing. Your brain's going to explode after you read this. It's about the San Bernardino attacks and on how Phil Haney was onto the cells that were planning these attacks, and he was told to leave by the Obama administration under influence of CARE and the International Brotherhood of Muslims. He's an amazing man, Phil. Thank you for joining us. Everyone, go online and download that book.
Phil, thank you for your service, and God bless.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much. MAGA.
Exactly. Thanks, Phil. Take care.
What are you laughing at, Eric Koppelman?
So,
I'm trying to figure out what MAGA means.
yeah, it's like Gaga with an M. Lady Maga. So listen, Ed, we have one more story here we wanted to get in quick.
Another jerk. Greg Salcido is a teacher in California, in Orange, California. And this guy goes on a rant and gets taped saying that military people are dumb. They're the lowest of the low. They can't do anything else. That's the reason why they go in. Well, he's been removed from his job, by the way.
Thank God.
What a jerk.
You know, he was
Seriously,
the mayor of the town 3 times.
And he's an active town councilman.
It's unbelievable.
How anybody can vote for this jerk?
But the current mayor, who's Hispanic, blasted him and said this is a military town. And he said 35% of the residents are veterans. So they don't want any part of him.
Listen, Eric Koppelman, I do miss you.
And I miss you, Mr. Munoz, sir. Officer Munoz.
Yeah, well,
So we'll get back into
You look
the
like the
story.
secret. You look
yes,
like the
we
secret.
will. We have listen. This news cycle with this Congress and with this administration is always going to be news.
So,
my friend.
Ed, before you take us out, I got to tell our audience.
Yes.
Next week, we're going to have the best show we ever had. You got to listen. We got James O'Keefe, author of American Pravda, exposing Twitter for shadow banning conservatives from transmitting messages.
Veritas, too.
He's from Project Veritas.
All the undercover
He
films.
goes undercover. He risks his life. His employees risk their lives and their careers. And he exposed the abortion clinic selling body parts. And this guy is unbelievable. We met him a couple of weeks ago in the city. He's coming on. Make sure you tell your friends about it when we do our promo.
Folks,
and Ed, take us out.
Folks, this is Everything Matters. We're here every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. www.wliny.com. where we are the voice of the common American, we are the voice of the middle class, and we are the voice of the first responders and our military men and women all over the world fighting evil. God bless and good night. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Good night,
Share
America.
the show, please.